What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Rec Nation. Guys, we have a new channel we are checking out on the Rec Nation. We are checking out Grand Thumb. This is the most misunderstood rifle. The M1918 BAR, or the BAR. I wanted to check this out because we're just kind of getting out of the World War II era of I guess war, at least on the channel. We just got out of the We just got out of the World at War, okay, documentary. And it's not we're leaving that behind. No, it's always going to be part of the channel. We're going to be circling back. But you know what though? Grand Thumb, I know of Grand Thumb. He does a pretty good job. He does a phenomenal job breaking down gun videos, and I wanted to get into the gun tubery of checking out videos, like the breakdown of weapons, and I wanted to check them out with you guys because this is something that I'm very interested in. And when it comes to weapons that I don't have access to. You know, these guys are very fortunate to have access to these weapon systems. I would love to try to check this weapon system out. This is super cool. This is historic. So for them to hopefully check this out, we can check it out together. You know, this is probably not your normal video we would do, but I am generally interested in this stuff. So this is, remember guys, oh my God. For those of you in our community that know what we do here, this is just I would already be checking this out. I want you guys to check this out with me, right? First and foremost, check these guys' original content out first, right? Watch their original content first. And then if you want to, watch it back with me, right? But if I want to watch something for the first time, I want to watch it with you. That's how I do it, okay? The original link is going to be somewhere in the video. Okay, if you watch their stuff originally or first, it lets them make more original content. Show them the love first, okay? Because I'm just going to be sitting here in awe. They are the professionals. They are the ones that know what to say. I'm just going to be here like a kid at Christmas, just watching and absorbing because I know nothing about this stuff. So, all right, let's check this out. Ready? 3, 2, let me pull it up. 3, 2, 1, Grand Thumb. Take it away, brother.
Hey, Corporal, I got a fix.
Oh, shit.
Mikey, get that goddamn BAR up! All right, second wave!
Come on, get the fuck out of the mag!
What?
Mikey, get that fucking tap off me! Shoot the man! Get the man struggling! Stop struggling!
Oh my God! What the
Die!
Cool. Holy shit.
Mikey, what took you so long?
I just wanted to see if I could cut him in half with my BAR.
Hey, Mikey, why does San Antonio look just like Pelelu?
Hey, today on Grantham, we're going to be talking about the BAR. What does that stand for?
Browning automatic rifle. One of God's finest inventions.
You know, the Browning automatic rifle, the BAR, is a vastly misunderstood. It's thought to be perhaps an LMG. Perhaps it's a battle rifle, or perhaps it's actually a automatic rifle. Today, we're going to be evaluating it. We're going to be talking about it. Now, right here, we do have a World War I version. A lot of people are mistaken believing that it only served in World War I. In fact, they were not all upgraded. So we're going to be talking about the differences between the...
Right off the bat, I put my foot in my mouth. Okay, World War I, not World War II. Holy shit. There you go. See? Professionals. I am not. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Original version, the M1918, which we have right here, and the World War II version, which would be the M1918A2. Today on Grantham, we delve autistically into the BAR.
You're in for a real treat. He won't shut up about it.
You know what I hate about YouTube, Aaron?
What's that, Jonesy?
Can't show any of the full auto material because they have decided that it's too dangerous for our audience.
Oh, they're acting a lot like the guys we're fighting.
You know, it's a terrible time, but the good news is that if you go to Pepperbox, we have the full, unedited version, shooting this guy auto, shooting it how it should actually be shown. This is a vital piece of history, and we can't show it on YouTube.
Absolutely stupid. Confirmed YouTube hates history.
Dude, literally. But,
Dude.
So it just makes...
Oh my god. Oh my god, okay. If you guys want that, I do have the Pepperbox subscription. Oh man. Could I? Oh no. Well, because we're on Rumble. We're on Rumble with this. We're on Rumble with this. Alright. Let me know. Let me know in the comments. Because I'm with him. What he just said hit me so hard. Oh, you guys know. You guys know the channel. You guys know the struggle. You guys know why we're on Rumble. It's because of exactly what he just said.
Makes no sense. We can only show this in semi-auto here on YouTube.
Hey, Mike, you know what my favorite part about this is?
What?
We're allowed to show it in the beginning because it's scripted, but we're not allowed to show the same gun now.
And yet we can show a United States Marine greasing a Japanese in real life with a BAR, but we cannot shoot it safely on a range. Before we get into all this shooting, what we do have to do is we have to thank the biggest sponsor of the channel. And the biggest sponsor of the channel is whom, Micah?
Primary Arms, providing you with any World War II optics. I think
You know how sick
for
this would
BAR,
go with like
an EOTech.
T2. Primary Arms, they're going to give you anything you could possibly want to get your hands on. We love them. We love their optics. Be sure to go and check them out. Tell them how much we love them. And, of course, we cannot forget Night Vision Network. If you're looking to buy Night Vision, if you're looking to buy thermals, just depends on the fidelity with which you want to see other men.
I don't know why you're looking at me. They ain't paying me.
And if you want to get better at shooting, we recommend dry fire. Mantis is going to turn your weapon into a dry fire machine. My employees love it so much. Micah, you actually stole the one that I had.
Yeah, 2 of them.
Go have a good time dry firing, just makes your experience better, resets your trigger. And usually ammunition is sponsored by AAC. In this case, ammunition is sponsored by Pepperbox. A big thank you to them. So right here we have the Browning automatic rifle, the BAR. This is an M1918, the first version that was manufactured for the United States military. It really didn't see a whole lot of usage in World War I. Despite that, it did make a big impact. It saw most of its usage in World War II, where many of them were upgraded to the A2 models, or the A2 models were used. However, with the Marine Corps, they got what they got, and they made it work. The BAR is an automatic rifle. At times during World War II, it was semi-employed as an LMG, but that's not really the purpose for which it was used. Now, this is a semi-automatic or automatic in terms of the M1918. It fires the 30-06 from a detachable 20-round box magazine. It is piston operated, and it has a 24-inch barrel. This is a killing machine if you've ever heard of it. This goes back to the time when your grandfather was shooting hunting rounds at 105-pound Japanese soldiers.
I saw Jonesy cut a guy in half with that thing.
Yeah, it was when you're gouging the dude's eyes out.
Well, I was preoccupied, but Jonesy pulled through.
Now we have a couple special guests here today. We have Cody and Eli. Go ahead and come in, gentlemen.
Hey!
Origato.
Jeff.
Donut operator right there with the shades on. And Eli double tap with the blue shades. unsubscribe podcast royalty right there, guys.
Uniform.
I thought we were cosplaying today.
So, Cody, have you ever shot a BAR before?
I've never shot a BAR.
What do you think it's going to be like? You shot one in Call of Duty.
Yeah, it's my favorite.
Call of
Is
Duty,
it?
yeah,
Yeah,
man.
that's heavier than I thought it was gonna be.
16 pounds.
Six-
So right here, we're going to have Cody and Eli also try out shooting at about 50. They're going to see what that recoil feels like. You also, every time you release a trigger, you have an open bolt. So because of that, that trigger is going to ride forward. Now, be on YouTube. It is semi, sucks. Watch it on Pepperbox or full auto. We'll start right here. You'll see that bolt ride forward. There's going to be that pause after I pull the trigger.
What? That's an odd.
See,
All right, Hirohito.
Let's do this.
how are you wearing sandals out here?
Gun triggers.
Come on.
Oh, that can't hip fire it from this distance. Cody, get in here.
Yeah, get it. All right, Cody.
That is very manageable.
Surprisingly enough, you can see how when you're shooting at a distance, it would be pretty easy to use overall. You could certainly make those longer shots. You know what's funny about this, Eli? You served in the Army.
I did.
Do you know the direct ancestor or descendant from this gun is?
The 240. Well, actually, not the 240, but then right before that was M60.
No, it's 240.
240 is the
Wow.
actual
Take
trick.
the M240, flip it upside down, and it's a BAR. Remember
Hey,
her
Eli.
remember her from
Squint
high
your
school?
eyes 80%, and you'll see a 240.
Holy shit! Holy moly!
Remember this girl from high school? This is her now. Bet you feel dumb, don't you? BAR gunners did have a fairly short life expectancy. The reason for this wasn't because the BAR was a bad gun. This is because in the way that they were employed within the United States military, specifically the Army and the Marine Corps, they were frequently at the front. They were breaking contact. They were trying to react to ambushes. Because of this, they were most often in the front of the line in the position with which they were likely to get struck and shot and killed.
Oh,
All right,
wow.
we're gonna do a little more shooting, guys, and then I'm gonna talk to you about the history of the BAR.
Yes,
right here, I'm just
dude.
gonna demonstrate the different fire modes that we have in the BAR. So we have semi, and then we have our fast fire. We don't have the slow fire because we have the M1918A2. Not a big deal. So we'll go ahead and we'll shoot that wine bottle down there. What do you think I can get at first try?
Yeah, probably.
Nope.
1. 3 to 1.
I'm not hitting that. See how fast I can run that trigger?
So slow.
So slow. That's like the approximate slow fire on the 1918A2. Okay. It's not as fast as I can do it.
Bad cadence, but there was a couple double taps in there.
So we've done a lot of shooting, and now we're going to do a lot of talking about the.
That gun, was it Medal of Honor? What game was it? Call of Duty or was it Medal of Honor? Or am I mixing up the games? Come on, guys. What was the game? What was the game where it was the BAR? It had to have been Medal of Honor. Maybe that was before most of your time, or maybe after your time. But there was a game where the BAR was like the gun. Or was that Vin Diesel's gun in Saving Private Ryan? Or what was it? What? I'm trying to think about whose gun that was. Was it the? I think that was the BAR. Anyway, I'm all messed up. But listen, I didn't know any of this. I just knew that this weapon, like, was the shit. Right? I think they used, what was it, the Thompson and the BAR. And the BAR laid some serious firepower. Like that, those are some serious rounds that thing was kicking out, for sure. I don't know what was the Thompson a submachine gun? Was it like 45s? Like pistol ammo, wasn't it? I think it was. But the BAR, man, that was some serious rifle rounds, I believe.
BAR. This is, in my mind, an incredible rifle, and one that I believe is massively misunderstood because it is a concept that you don't see nearly as much anymore. Now, to be clear, the Marines have brought it back with their M1918 IAR, but that was more a reason to just bring about the HK416 to the main line for the United States Marine Corps. The BAR is an automatic rifle. It's not an LMG, it is not an assault rifle, it is not a battle rifle. It falls into a somewhat unused category nowadays. And because of that, I think it fills a really interesting position in history. It's not so much effective with how we conduct warfare nowadays, and indeed, many of the tactics that were developed from World War I going through World War II, they just didn't know what to do. There was a lot of trying out different techniques, and the BAR was a part of one of those techniques that was used. It ended up being quite effective in the Pacific and a little bit less effective in the European theater. So with all that being said, the first thing that we need to do when we talk about the BAR is understand the history behind the BAR and why it was developed. Because although John Moses Browning did develop the BAR, there is a little bit of French history that comes into play concerning the development of this weapon. So the thing that we have to understand is that the French military, going up into World War I, there was a lot of focus on technological advancement. Due to political changes in power, there was an abandonment of that idea, and essentially when the war began, what they believed would work didn't work, and many things were rushed into place, specifically the machine guns that we now know and love / hate, such as the Shosho. Now, these machine guns came about because the French needed a machine gun, and it was not all that bad of a machine gun when it comes to the French version. The version that the Americans saw was converted to 30 caliber, which was the caliber of choice of the Americans. Now, that version actually had some very significant problems. And in fact, when John Moses Browning took a look at the Shosho, he realized that 30 caliber conversion was done incorrectly, and there wasn't enough travel in the bolt mechanism, and because of that, overall the weapon was quite ineffective. And that brings us to the M1918, the BAR. This wasn't exactly a rush development, but it was certainly brought forward quite quickly by John Moses Browning. If you're not familiar with John Moses Browning, the M250 cal, his invention, the 1911, his invention, the Browning High Power, mostly his invention. He is a legendary firearm maker. So if you're not familiar with John Moses Browning, he is the inventor of the 50 cal, the M2, still in use today, the 1911.
Hey, there's a whole jet patrol coming. Weapons and ammo. Get the gun up. Let's go.
He's inventor of the 1911, not so much used anymore, and many other weapons, including the Browning High Power, one of my favorites. So when it came to the M1918, it was adopted in 1917. It was coined the M1918. Now, these were rushed into production, and to be clear, the first about 1,000 plus that were delivered were actually out of spec. Was not so good. But the ones that they got after that were quite well made. Now, what's interesting is they made it to the European front in time to be used and to possibly to make an impact. But at the time, so many new tactics, so many new technologies were being employed that there was an issue of these weapons being employed in small numbers at first, a counter being found to these measures, and then the weapon not being effective, whether it be poison gas, whether it be tanks, whether it be machine guns. So then we have General Pershing, who's in control of the American Expeditionary Forces. He decides to hold back on using the BAR until he's at a point where he can use it for a breakout, because they did believe the war is going to be going on for a longer period of time. It had been going on for 4 years at this point. It's because of that the M1918 didn't see a whole lot of action until about late September of 1918 and through November, and it proved itself to be extremely effective. Now, the tactics originally used around the BAR was this idea of walking fire, of people online with these butt socks hooked into these little butt plates on their on their belts and just walking and firing automatic and keeping heads down. This didn't end up being something that was really utilized. Instead, this was used as a trench clearing gun. It was used as an automatic rifle. So it did very well. It was well loved by the United States Marine Corps, like anything that deals death and destruction. And that brings us to the end of World War I. This is where it gets interesting. So in the interwar period, you saw the BAR see a lot of use, whether it be from criminals, whether it be from law enforcement. It was found to be an extremely effective rifle, and indeed proved itself in this interwar period.
Wasn't Bonnie and Clyde, weren't they gunned down with BARs? Didn't the police shoot them up with BARs? I want to say that's the gun they used to light them up. Not the Thompson. I think it was the BARs, which is the weapon of choice, which is basically what ripped through their freaking vehicle.
Now, of course, John Moses Browning passes away during those interwar years, and by about 1938, 1939, the United States Army decides things are looming on the horizon and they need to update the BAR to something better. Now, attempts have been made with the M1918A1, which we're not going to go too in depth upon, other than to say that they did add bipods and other devices to make it more of a support weapon. When World War II was rolling around, they decided that the BAR should fall into more of a light machine gun role. So they added a bunch of things to it. And ultimately, we took the M1918, which was a 16-pound automatic rifle, and we got the M1918A2, which was a 21-pound rifle and was in many ways an inferior automatic weapon and not a good LMG, which we should not consider the BAR an LMG because it often was unemployed as such. Now with the M1918A2, you had a bipod that was a real bitch to use. You had to unscrew it and tighten it back into place. It just was not good. You had additional feed lips added right here to these huge wings that were just not useful at all. We had on the butt plate, you had that nice little riser to keep a rest on your shoulder when you were in the prone. But what you often saw in combat from soldiers who actually used them was they removed the bipod. They removed all these features that made it into an LMG, and they made it into a more maneuverable weapon, just like the M1918, because it was just not good stuff. They also added a carrying handle on the M1918A2 because they added so much damn weight to the thing that it became awkward to carry. So you have all these things being removed, and ultimately you kind of get back to the M1918 with worse sights, because they did change the sights on the BAR on the 1918A2 to more of a ladder type mechanism, or when they were folded down, you no longer had this large peep sight that you had on the original BAR. You had something that was much less useful. So you had a much less useful design in many ways. So what we're going to do here today is we're going to go through the rifle as we always do, tip to butt. We're going to talk about changes that were made, how these weapons were employed, and I think what made this weapon very effective, where it found its most use, which was in the Pacific with the United States Marine Corps. I know my Marines are super pumped out there. Are you pumped? No, this video is sponsored by Ammo Squared. Man, I love ammo too, but you know what? When I was a college student, it was hard to buy enough ammo. So what we like about Ammo Squared is you're able to buy in small amounts as you have the money, and that will accrue ammo, and once it hits a certain point, they're going to ship that ammo to you. So think about it as investing in ammo, because I always didn't have enough to buy a whole box or to buy a whole case. So it's nice that you can invest into it slowly, and they'll send it when they have it or when you reach that threshold. In addition to that, Ammo Squared is located in good old Idaho. We love our fellow Idahoans right there. And they have all the major calibers you could possibly want. The best part as well is it's not forcing you to spend a certain amount per month. You can do whatever you want or do whatever you need. So you set the budget of how much you want to spend. It's not like you're locked into anything. So go and check out Ammo Squared. Awesome, guys. Let's get back to the video. So before we start, we obviously have a piston-operated weapon. We have an open-bolt machine gun firing 30-06 or 30 cal, and
it was Call of Duty. I think it was the Pacific one. It was the Pacific one. That's where I fell in love with the BAR. I think that was like the my weapon of choice in that video game. That's where it was. I forgot what it was. Rising Sun or something. Setting Sun, Rising Sun, one of those. But yeah. Yeah, okay. Marines, 100%.
2-ball, a very effective weapon. In this case, with the M1918, you have auto, semi, and safe. And then, of course, you had fast fire, slow fire, and safe on the A2 model. Starting out here at the end, we do have a flash hider. It is simply a conical flash hider. Oftentimes, you would see this removed in the field to make the weapon shorter, because we do have about 2.5 inches of flash hider right here, and it really wasn't necessary. We have a 24-inch barrel. Most of your powder is already burnt. It wasn't something that was incredibly effective. Think about the M1 Grand. About the same barrel length. Did that have a flash hider? It did not. Because of this, that was often removed. Now, as you can see here, we do have an A2 accoutrement on here. This was something that was often outfitted on rifles, and when you have the flash hider on here, you can install it. This is a front sight post protector. I do find these to be effective, so often if these could be acquired, this would be the only reason to keep this flash hider on here. Now, moving back to the barrel, one of the big complaints about the BAR has always been the lack of a removable barrel / changeable barrel, and then the thickness of the barrel. And this comes down to people who believed it should have been employed as an LMG. We had the M1919, we had the 1919 already as a belt-fed machine gun. So in my mind, this fell into the category of automatic weapon. And despite that, many light machine guns of the time, whether it be the Bren or updated models of the BAR, which did have changeable barrels, these were often not carried because they were found to be superfluous weight, and that this barrel change wasn't utilized because on these very light machine guns, you just weren't firing them at that cadence. So it really comes down to that firing cadence. And another thing is that when you look at the history of the BAR and how it was employed, a lot of these problems with heat for the barrel came to how the BAR was structured. So you had like one man per squad. That's a lot of firepower that is being expected to be thrown down by one man with the BAR. When you look at the Pacific, you had the Marine Corps who had up to 3 BAR men per squad, which increased firepower. And indeed, one of the great things about this particular weapon within the Pacific was that often these were used to break contact. They found that due to the fire rate, the reliability that they got from this weapon, that it was very effective to have at those front of those patrols, along with the Thompson, to break that contact, to get fire superiority. And in addition to that, they could often outrange or outgun many of the machine guns or snipers that they could encounter. So it was a great weapon for breaking contact or completely destroying that contact that they ran into.
Wow.
And for this reason,
that could reach out. I mean, I guess you could. I mean, that round that thing is putting out was a 30-06. That's a pretty heavy round. You could definitely, I mean, granted, there's really no optics, but I mean, if you know where, a machine gun nest, you could obviously, if it's raining down on you, you could, and you have 3 people in your squad, you could return fire effectively with a 30-06. But remember, it has a 20-round magazine. But, I mean, you don't need a long break in fire. You just need the enemy's heads down for a brief second while you have some sort of troop movement from cover to cover. Right? But I could see it. I can see that being the 240's grandfather. Or father. 240's father, for sure. I mean, man, look at that thing though. It looks solid. It looks solid. But I get it. Like it's not like practical. Like where would you have that? It's not a large machine gun. It's not a light machine gun. It's like a rifle with. It's like a faster fire rate than a rifle, but it's not a machine gun. And it has a larger. Has a larger ammo. Has a larger magazine than a rifle would. Larger magazine than a rifle would, and a faster fire rate, but it's not a machine gun, not to be implemented like a machine gun. And the military was just using them wrong. I mean, go figure, right?
That I believe that the BAR ended up being a very interesting automatic weapon. So, barrel, in my mind, it wasn't so much of an issue. I am a bit of a simp for the BAR, so maybe I'm just, doing the sour grapes or however you say it. But we have that. Going back, we do have the gas system. The weapon was known for being highly reliable for the time. Now, certainly you do see problems with the weapon, but despite that, you go all the way up to the Vietnam War, and this weapon was still being employed. In fact, you saw many of the advisors to the South Vietnamese army using the BAR, not simply because they were given it, but also because it was a highly reliable weapon. And indeed, the Viet Cong that they faced were often said to covet this weapon due to the firepower it offered, the reliability that it offered, and overall, I think that speaks volumes for the weapon, that despite being made so long ago, it was still used well into that time period. And again, because so many of these were made, you still do see them being used. Now, one note I do want to make as we go back into the handguard and some of the things that make this more iconic versus like the A2 version is that when the war started, we had a lot of M1918s. We did not have a lot of M19A2s. The military was, of course, gearing up, getting ready to make this new version of the BAR, but they wanted to make sure it's backward compatible. So a lot of the original BARs were converted to the A2 models, but despite that, you saw a lot of these original World War I models serve throughout World War II, whether it be in the Pacific or the European theater. So we'll pop up some pictures right here, Marines using these in the Pacific theater with these original models. And I always think that was really interesting to see kind of this slow progression of upgrade as the war effort, as the support began to ramp up, how these weapons changed over time and as they were able to upgrade them. So on this M1918, we do have this handguard right here. I love this handguard compared to the handguard in the A2. It is longer. You have this very nice checkering up front. And for me, I find this easier to grip compared to the original BAR, and it just feels better to me. They shortened this. They made it, in my mind, a worse grip overall compared to what we have right here. But that's also because on the A2 model is meant to be used as an LMG, even though it wasn't employed as such. Moving back to here, we do have our magazines. So obviously I have two magazines that we can kind of talk about right here. So we have our first magazine, which is like the A2 magazine. It's Parkerized, your typical World War II finish. And then we also have our blued magazines. This would be the ones from World War I that were not swapped over. So we do have both these just so you can see them. The M1918s, like we have right here, were blued with a high polish compared to the Parkerization that you see on the A2 models. Moving back from here, I was serious when I said that the BAR ended up being a basis for many weapon designs afterwards, and the M240 is a direct descendant of the BAR. It is a very reliable mechanism. We moved down here, we talked about those feed lips on the M1918. As you can see, we do not have them. You simply have slots you line up for the magazine, you pop into place. This is an open bolt weapon. Because of that, we have the bolt held to the rear when the weapon's ready to fire. So you fire it, that bolt comes forward. So on the reloads, what you typically do, there's two ways to handle it. You can either pop magazine out, magazine in, then lock it back, or more commonly what you do is you would fire that bolt would go forward on an empty chamber, you'd lock that bolt back, you pull that magazine out, you get your new magazine in, and then at that point you're just good to go because that bolt's already to the rear. Now, on the charging handle is a non-reciprocating charging handle. That being said, if you do have it back and you fire that first round, it is going to come forward, then lock into place. So there were some changes made to the charging handles from the original model to the A2. Not so much of a issue in my mind. And then we get down to our safety selector. So the safety selector is very interesting to me personally. So this isn't a great representation because, of course, we do have a reproduction. We couldn't get exactly what the M1918 had, but we'll talk about it. So when John Moses Browning developed this, he was very conscious to put a little safety detent right under the lever right here. We'll have a picture of that. So the idea is that once you push that forward, that little tab would actually come up. The reason for that was he didn't want soldiers accidentally engaging the safety as they were going into battle. A much different thought process than what we have nowadays. They wanted to make sure that weapon was ready to rock and smoke whoever it needed to smoke. John Moses Browning knew what he was doing. That first position is automatic, and then the position forward from there is semi. The idea being that as soldiers were marching towards the trenches, they'd be firing semi, bang, bang, bang. As they got close, they could click that back, but because of that detent, they wouldn't click back into safety. Rather, they'd always hit that automatic mode so that they were then ready to fight. So I think that is an interesting way that he designed it. I actually do like it quite a bit. I like the way he thinks. Most of his designs work very well for me. We do have the trigger right here. So a lot of people have a question about how good is that trigger. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna ghost that trigger together. So putting our finger right over there. Make sure I just get my edge of my finger on there. So filling into it, just a little bit of play. We have about a 6-pound trigger pull. And then if we let that forward for the reset for semi, just a little reset right there.
Wow.
And have it come forward. Okay.
Not bad.
So to full freaking auto, you have that trigger pull, about the same, a little lighter, about 5 pounds. It's auto, so it doesn't reset. Beautiful. So that is the trigger on the BAR. I find it quite a good trigger overall, especially compared to a lot of triggers that you see nowadays. It still feels good. Now, one of my favorite parts about the BAR, the original BAR, the M1918, are the sights. The sights are beautiful on this guy. So you have a large rear aperture right here, and you can really get very good impacts. You can be very precise, and then if you really need to, you're able to, of course, look over the top, or you have a ladder, just like you would on the older one, to get those longer range shots if you need it. But oftentimes in practice, that rear peep worked absolutely perfect compared to that little notch sight that you had on the A2, which was about damn near useless in my mind. So I am a huge fan of the M1918 for many reasons, but especially for the rear sight. And not to mention that this weapon is significantly lighter at 16 pounds versus that 21 pounds
couldn't
on
imagine.
the A2 model. Now, in addition, on the, I think, most egregious of everything that they did is on the A2 model, they decided that they needed a rate reducer. You have to understand that at this point, after World War I, before World War II was kicking off, a lot of companies were making a BAR, specifically foreign. So FN actually took a big stab at the BAR and made a really good BAR derivative that is pretty close to the Colt Monitor. We'll pop up a little photo of it right here. But it added a pistol grip, it had a rate reducer, and these mechanisms were extremely, extremely reliable. However, when the United States military asked for a rate reducer, what was came up with was a hydraulic buffer to slow down the bolt that was installed within the stock. This is all fine and good, except for the fact that it was not particularly well designed. Because of that, this often failed. When these BRs were cleaned, the solvent had a tendency to flow all the way back and into that hydraulic buffer, and they would cause those seals to fail. Once those seals failed, it wouldn't be able to slow down that bolt. So when you clicked it over to what you thought would be slow fire on an A2, you'd simply get fast fire. When you clicked to fast fire, it'd just be fast fire. So in reality, you just had safe, fast fire, which is not very effective, and overall was a lot of weight added for no reason and unnecessary complexity that just didn't end up holding up in the field. Despite that, that did remain within the A2 up until the end of its production. Now, over here at the rear, I do want to point out how that stock is working with the stock right here. So you can see it's flush right there. So when that charging handle comes back, see that slide is just coming right along the stock right there. Then of course we have a rear stock. The rear stock on the M1918 was actually shorter compared to the A2. Overall, when we talk about BARs, the M1918 was in my mind a much better weapon, an automatic rifle, and good at what it was designed to do. The A2, not so much. And you just ended up having overall a very legendary weapon. So overall, with the BAR, I love the original model, the M1918. The A2 is still good. Despite that, I think that this is the quintessential version, a much more effective weapon and a great automatic rifle.
Cool.
The last thing I want to say about it is that...
So it just wasn't implemented right, pretty much. Like, it was a great weapon. The Marines found a way to implement it. They find a way to implement everything. Marines, that's what they do. They do a lot with nothing, right? But it was like an amazing weapon, and just maybe the implementation of it wasn't invested in properly, right? One of those deals.
This weapon has really good recoil for what it is. It's easy to keep on target. It's extremely effective. And in addition to that, there are so many cool stories about the BAR. From men waiting until enemy soldiers were close, most classically within the Pacific, where they tried to cut people in half with them, to there was a case of a man in a plane where a Zero was coming up in on his position, and the only weapon he has is a BAR, so he actually put it out the window, fired, and killed the pilot with his BAR midair. So there are crazy stories of the BAR because it served for such a long period of time, and I think in many ways it's a very misunderstood weapon. I think when we understand the history, going back to World War I, of why it was designed, and understand the misuse of tactics, how it was applied, we can understand the place that the BAR actually occupied within history, and that puts us in, I think, a much more favorable position to appreciate how effective the weapon was in those theaters that it was properly employed, such as within the Pacific with the Marine Corps. Overall, that brings us to the end of the M1918. If you get to fire these, I highly recommend it, guys. They are incredible weapons. They are pieces of history, and they just sound incredible when they fire. There's nothing like a BAR going off. So, thank you for watching, guys. Nothing else for you today. We got tons more stuff coming.
Cool,
down the
man.
pipeline. Go and check it out. And we love you, and we've got nothing else for you. So dad advice today is going to be my own little rant. YouTube censorship. We are increasingly facing problems on being able to post content that is, in my mind, educational, that is fun, because it is deemed incorrect by YouTube, and that's difficult. That makes our lives more difficult. It doesn't allow us to give you guys the content that we want to be able to give you. So that's why we have our stuff on Pepperbox that is unedited now, and we'll have to do that on certain subjects where we can't show stuff that YouTube deems to be offensive in some way, despite being just normal material, just normal gun stuff. I'm gonna say it again, guys. I think YouTube occupies a public space, a public square. I think we should be able to post what we want. I understand private companies. With that being said, you have entire generations are possibly going to miss out on information because of this. I would argue is unfair censorship. So
wow, bro.
Let's get active on that. For now, we have many of our unedited stuff that's going to be on Pepperbox, but as always, we will continue posting to YouTube every week because we believe in it. We believe in educating everybody we possibly can. With all the restrictions, we're going to do the best we absolutely can. We love you guys. Hope you guys enjoy the content coming in the very near future, because it is pretty incredible. Isn't that right, Micah? We have like a really fast camera, just bullets coming out of barrels. It's going to be super cool.
That's
it's going to be
awesome.
great. And yeah, I'm just LARPing, so have a good day.
Look. So, the end of that video was absolutely facts right there. In a very scary way, facts. Oh my goodness. It's crazy to see someone else saying what I've been saying all along. This is why we're on Rumble. The end of his video is why we're on Rumble. And listen, guys, like as far as content on YouTube, reaction type content, right? I'm on this journey because I am just interested. I am just learning. And I'm here with you guys, and we're on this journey together, right? Because I would be watching these videos with or without you. I need to know this stuff for myself. I love that I watched The World at War, and I can actually tell my son Alexander the lessons that I'm learning, right, from all over the place that we're learning together, that you guys have introduced to me, right? But yeah, YouTube's shutting us down, man. YouTube keeps shutting us down, and it's terrifying. I get it. YouTube is privately owned. People give me shit for being on Rumble. Rumble doesn't block me from uploading stuff. You could argue the same people that own YouTube are a bunch of wackadoos too, and their hands aren't clean either. Our channel here on the Rec Nation is where it's at. That's it. Stay here on the Rec Nation. On Rec Nation, we're good. We have movie reviews. You don't have to watch the ads, just like you don't watch the ads over on YouTube. I'm not in control of the ads that you guys... Anyway, I think the soapbox... Not the soapbox. The soapbox is coming out. It's just very frustrating how, like, educational types, especially this kind of education, like military education, history education. Like, look, these are the original content creators. These are the guys that know this stuff. These are the guys that, the original operators per se, right? They can't even get their shit out there. I'm just a reactor that is learning. I'm just trying to learn. I'm just trying to absorb what they're saying, right? And I'm just recording a reaction. I'm just bringing points up or reiterating stuff or bringing personal stories or personal thoughts in video form to you guys. And we have kind of a discussion in the comment section about some stuff, and we have open discourse in the comments, right? That's why reaction. That's why reaction stuff, right? And we're building this community, and it's just a shame that there is a platform that's shutting that down for just reacting to something that that I feel like is important. You know, the fact that, yeah, you can show someone absolutely getting slaughtered in a video format, in a movie format, but you can't show an automatic weapon being safely used. That's some bullshittery, if I ever heard it. But anyway, rant over. You guys are legends. You guys stay legendary. Make sure you unplug as well. And I just messed myself up doing the outro. I'll see you all in the next video. Later, guys.